Greed made him do this to his own brother. But what exactly did he do? Come on, guys, let's dive into this amazing movie and find out together. Hello, guys. Today we bring you another fascinating movie to your screen. This one is definitely going to blow your mind, and I'm pretty sure you'll love it. But before we dive in, why don't you grab some snacks and subscribe to this channel for more thrilling stories from us? The story kicks off with a young lady and her father, who were taken away to a young man named Jim. Jim was seated on a wheelchair, recovering from an incident involving Mr. James, Nene's father, who was a driver. Nene pleaded with Jim to let her father go, assuring him that he was innocent. But guess what? Jim refused. Instead, he decided to keep Nene hostage and ordered his cousin Leo to make Mr. James talk. Now the big question is, what secret is Mr. James hiding that makes Jim go this far? While Nene kept knocking on the door, begging for her father's release, Jim and Leo argued in the living room. Jim yelled at Leo for putting Mr. James in a coma, because that was never his intention. Feeling concerned, Jim told Leo to leave the matter for him to handle. Jim later called the doctor to confirm Mr. James's condition. The doctor informed him that the man was still in a coma. Jim then gave strict instructions not to inform anyone except him. Back to Nene, who sat frustrated. A maid named Anne came in to tell her that Jim had ordered her to start working, cooking and cleaning. Soon after, Nene found herself in the kitchen. When she served Jim the food, guess what? It was filled with salt. Jim yelled at her in anger, insulting her before throwing the food away. That night, Nene sat in her room feeling down. Meanwhile, Jim was also in his room, reflecting on what had led him to the wheelchair. The next morning, Leo checked in on Jim, asking if he needed anything. Jim told him to give him space. Afterward, Leo went to encourage Nene in her room. The following day, Jim and Leo chatted about business. Then Leo asked what Jim planned to do with Nene. Jim replied coldly that she would stay until the truth came out. Later, Jim noticed Nene had been wearing the same dress since her arrival. Anne was ordered to get her a uniform, which Nene was to wear at all times. When Jim saw her in the uniform, he asked her to walk front and back. Her slow movement angered him, and once again, he insulted her. The next evening, Jim shocked Nene by demanding a massage. Surprised, she asked if that was part of her duty. Jim made it clear, "Whatever I ask you to do, you must do." From then on, every evening at 6, she was required to massage him. During one session, Nene pressed too hard, causing Jim severe pain. He screamed at her to stop. Later that night, he struggled to even bathe because of the pain. By the next day, when Nene came for the massage again, Jim angrily chased her away, accusing her of trying to kill him. Meanwhile, Nene tried to prepare food for him, but when Jim opened it, he was disgusted. He insulted her again, banned her from the kitchen, and put Anne in charge of all meals. Later, Leo presented a signed document to Jim. Shocked, Jim asked why he had signed anything without his approval. Leo explained it was urgent. At first, Jim flared up, warning him never to repeat it, but then suddenly turned it into a joke, leaving Leo confused. Moments later, Jim praised him for a job well done. But wait, why is Jim treating his cousin with both harshness and praise? Could there be something deeper behind his actions? The day after, both of them were seen chatting about their business. Suddenly, Leo felt concerned and asked Jim about Mr. James. Jim told him that James was still in a coma and that it was his biggest concern. While they were still in conversation, Nene walked in. Jim was surprised and asked if she didn't know how to knock. But Nene's face was filled with shock as she asked who was in a coma. Both of them refused to answer. Leo stood up, wanting to leave, but Nene stopped him. She insisted that nobody should leave the room until she got an answer. That moment turned into a heated argument between the two men. Nene was in great pain after finding out that her father was in a coma. That night, Jim sat down looking confused, while Nene was in her room, shedding tears. The following morning, Anne was taking Jim around the house. Jim stopped and asked about Nene, but Anne hadn't heard from her either. He then asked Anne to take him to Nene's room. When they got there, he wanted to knock, but later changed his mind and asked Anne to take him back. That same day, Leo came around. As he chatted with Jim about business, he also expressed concern for Nene, whom he hadn't seen for a few days. He advised Jim to give her some time to recover from the news. After that, they went back to their business talk. 2 days later, Jim was in the living room when Nene came downstairs. Jim stopped her and apologized to her. Nene turned to him angrily, asking what exactly he was sorry for. She was upset, but Jim's true intention was to find out who had put him in such a condition. After that, Nene went back to her room, pacing around and thinking. The next morning, Nene brought Jim food as a way of saying sorry for her attitude. Jim was surprised and suspicious, thinking she might have poisoned it. To prove him wrong, Nene tasted the food first. After confirming it was safe, Jim asked her to bring it closer, and he ate it. Later that day, Jim bought clothes for Nene so she would stop wearing the maid's uniform. 2 days later, Nene dressed up looking different. When Leo saw her, he was surprised. Nene told him Jim had bought the clothes for her. Leo went upstairs to ask Jim why he had done that. Jim replied that he was simply tired of seeing her in the uniform. However, Leo didn't believe him, though they continued chatting. While leaving, Leo asked Nene to help him get a document from Jim's room. Claiming he had already discussed it with Jim, Nene was surprised but agreed to do it. The next day, Jim called Leo, saying he wanted to visit the office to know how things were going. After that, he called the doctor to ask about Nene's father. Thankfully, the doctor said he was getting better, though slowly. But then, the doctor revealed something shocking, that Mr. James' condition wasn't caused by just a punch, but by severe trauma. Jim was surprised, but tried to ignore it. Unknown to him, Nene was standing behind and had overheard everything. She later confronted Leo, asking again what really happened to her father. But just like before, Leo gave her excuses, assuring her that her father would be fine before walking away. The following morning, Leo was having tea, dressed for work. Soon after, both he and Jim went to the office. While they were away, Nene went into Jim's room to check on the documents. She read through them carefully and then placed them back. That evening, when Jim and Leo returned from the office, Jim felt thirsty. Leo went to the kitchen to get water and met Nene there. He asked her about the document he had requested. Nene told him she hadn't gotten it yet because Jim was always in his room, but promised to get it when he wasn't around. Days later, Jim and Nene were in the living room having a chat. Jim was surprised to hear that Nene had once been in the university, but dropped out because her father couldn't afford the bills. Jim then promised to help her return to school as they continued their conversation. The following evening, Jim was in the living room when the police arrived. He shook hands with them, and later Leo joined in, also shaking hands with the officers. The police then brought out a paper for Jim to read, the report revealing who was responsible for his condition. Guys, stay tuned, because the unexpected is about to happen. Jim was in total disbelief as he read the paper. Could anyone believe it? Leo was behind Jim's condition. Even me, I was shocked. This is unbelievable. Leo tried to act smart, but then Nene came downstairs with the document she had taken earlier. She told Leo she wasn't dumb and knew exactly what it meant. This made Leo finally confess how jealousy pushed him to plan Jim's death just to take over his property. Jim was heartbroken, realizing his own brother had betrayed him for wealth. Yet Leo showed no remorse. He boldly told Jim that he would rather rot in jail than serve him, as he handed himself over to the police. A few months later, Nene came out and saw Jim at the door. She asked if he needed anything, but Jim said he wanted to go outside and couldn't, so he asked if she could help him. Nene agreed. Then guess what, guys? OMG, it was her dad. She was so excited to see him again. Out of joy, she gave Jim a warm hug of appreciation. The moral lesson of this movie is, greed and jealousy will always lead to destruction. Betraying family for wealth brings nothing but regret, while kindness and patience always pave the way to restoration. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to click the subscribe button for more captivating movies from us. See you next time. Bye.